GameStop has served as one of the most prominent video game retailers for the past decade. As the future is shifting more towards a digital design, GameStop is going to be faced with several issues that require an update to their current strategy. Their net income in 2017 was 34.7 million, and since then they have posted 3 straight years of a net income loss. In 2020, their final fiscal year, they returned a net income loss of $215.3 million. In terms of revenue, it has been on a downward slope since 2015. In 2015, they brought in $9.364 billion in revenue, and now in 2020, they have returned $5.09 billion in revenue. So, further, as we dive into our research, we have identified the current problems that are going on in GameStop and accorded with their current strategy and strategic issue. After analyzing that, we provide recommendations to the strategic issue and organization structure. And finally, we'll go into our conclusion.
For strategic issue, according to the latest shareholder report, GameStop's current strategy is a three-phase operation of stabilization, optimization, and transformation, with the end state being that the company becomes the leading digital-first global omni-channel retailer for all things games and entertainment. In order for this to happen, there are several strategic issues that they have to overcome. The company has closed approximately 1,000 stores since 2019, and there are conflicts in the C-level suites as the CEOs have been frequently changed out. From the outside looking in, it's obvious that the company needed to increase their competitiveness in the digital marketplace. However, the company was hesitant to give up their traditional brick-and-mortar retail strategy. Whatever their decision may be, their main competition is gaming console producers. In 2020, online game sales outnumbered physical sales for the first time in the history of gaming. Whether or not this was only attributed to the pandemic and will reverse course is still to be determined. But with companies like Sony and their PlayStation, Microsoft's Xbox, and Nintendo Switch providing the ability to download new games directly to their hardware, GameStop has to figure out how to regain relevancy and deliver the products that match the needs of today's gamers.
Hello, my name is Jacob Reese, and I'm going to be going over the company overview for GameStop. We're going to be looking at some internal and external analysis factors, and then looking at their current strategic plan. GameStop is a worldwide organization that sells video game merchandise, video games themselves, and the hardware to play video games on it. This has given them a wide demographic of potential consumers, both young and old, and anyone who wants to participate in the video game space, GameStop will have a product that will fit what they're looking for. GameStop is also mainly a seasonal store, as most of their growth and revenues come in during the holiday time period. And additionally, due to the recent COVID-19 pandemic, they did see a bit of a spike in sales, mainly because people were staying in the house and video games was a great option to pass the time. One other thing about GameStop's external environment is that they have very low political risk entering into other markets. Most of video games ratings are pretty standardized at this point, what is 14 plus and what is not. So they can very much easily pivot to make sure all of their products can fit into just about any market that's welcoming to video games. An additional initiative that GameStop has recently engaged in is a recycling program for returned in games that they receive from consumers. So any games or hardware consumers can turn in, rather than sending them to the trash, they go either recycled or they refurbish them and then put them back onto their product line. This is a great way to show how GameStop is geared towards the eco-friendly and a green mindset, and it will be beneficial to them in the future, as it most likely could provide some savings. GameStop's internal capabilities have been increasing as of the most recent stock frenzy, as they've been getting more capital to fund more change and initiative projects within the organization. And one key figure they picked up during that time period was their new COO, Jenna Owens. She had previously worked at Amazon as a fulfillment director, and she also has experience working at companies such as Google. GameStop has two key competitive advantages, one being its physical store locations and the other being its rewards program. The physical store locations will continually give them access to the portion of the market that prefers to purchase games in store rather than through e-commerce. And GameStop's competitors, such as Microsoft and Steam, are purely e-commerce based. So GameStop will continually have that competitive advantage over them in that area. GameStop's customer loyalty program has been in place for a very long time and is something that GameStop, even to today, is continually evolving to make the most appealing on the market. As they continue to do this, it'll keep bringing customers back. GameStop's current strategic plan mainly revolves around amplifying their rewards program, increasing efficiency of their supply chain, and expanding their product line to break into the PC gaming market. All of these initiatives require a large amount of capital, which GameStop is fully taking advantage of with the current stock frenzy. GameStop recently put 3.5 million shares of common stock back into the stock market, which is estimated to bring in about $551 million of new capital into GameStop. This amount of capital will go towards projects that potentially Jenna Owens or other new talent that GameStop has brought in to increase their supply chain efficiencies and then acquire the necessary merchandise to add on to their PC product base for new consumers in that market. GameStop showing the initiative that they're willing to raise this amount of capital and give it to this new talent they brought in shows that the organization understands they need to make change. I believe that this is a positive outlook for them to have, and if they continue to fund these initiatives, we could see GameStop overhaul into a completely different business format than we see it today.
Recommendations for the strategic issues. Historically, there have been companies like Walmart or Amazon that change the way customers are purchasing items. When this occurs, the competing businesses have a decision to make: beat them at their own game or hold steady with their current business model and poise themselves for a strategic turnaround. Our recommendations pertaining to the strategic issues GameStop is facing is to perform a strategic turnaround for their business in order to provide relevancy against their biggest competitors, the gaming console producers. When a company makes a decision to cut costs and move to a mostly digital platform, it can provide an advantage in profits and efficiency. But we believe that this tactic leaves a disadvantage for customers in the area of service that GameStop can use to its advantage. Retaining knowledgeable employees who are able to provide tips, recommendations, and even minor repairs or troubleshooting, all while trying to upsell and generate opportunity purchases, would be a method that GameStop could outshine its competition. With the remaining physical locations providing an area where games can be tested out or prior to purchasing, or sponsoring and hosting local gaming tournaments, as well as their traditional buyback and accessories purchases, still remains relevant to customers. While there may be the need to scale back the business model to accomplish this, if customers are not buying their games at GameStop, convenience is less of an issue. For an experience, customers are much more likely to seek out the establishment and travel further to do so. By reconsolidating their structures into strategic locations that are most accessible to the key demographics being targeted, they can leverage their existing business model to their advantage.
Led by current CEO Matt Furlong, GameStop has a board of directors whose main goal is to drive the company in a direction that will be mutually beneficial for its customers as well as stockholders. The board oversees day-to-day activities as well as provides approval for larger initiatives in many assets for the company. The board has a true belief that their words and actions speak for all of those that work under them, higher-ups as well as new employees alike. Because of this, the board is committed to outstanding education, continuing education, and maintaining their knowledge and cutting-edge practices for their employees to look up to. The board has a retirement age of 75, which gives young employees a greater chance of making up to upper management roles if desired. The overall message is that management's trying to exemplify that there's opportunities available for employees that wish to advance, who can work to the benefit of all investors and customers alike. GameStop's board of directors work to set an example for leaders as well as new and continuing employees that look to them for guidance. Frequent meetings provide an accessible environment to develop new strategies to deal with a shifting market and advancing technologies. Along with these changes in strategy come new challenges associated with their financial goals. The financial goals also include complexities such as leveraging and investing, which the board also has a large impact on. Another main focus for the board is maintaining ethical business practices as they look to support their customers and stockholders. For any large corporation, a shift in process or environment will take longer than a mom and pop shop. However, I feel GameStop's methods are slightly outdated. One key piece for the upper management is that they have a relatively young age for the maximum of the board of directors. Although this sends a good message, it only actually impacts a very small percent of the employees. For the general store workers and managers, the board may not even be a thought. Instead of focusing on the upper management so heavily, it may be more beneficial to directly impact the experience for lower level employees. GameStop has notoriously been known for the poor prices they offer on trade-ins, and I feel this is seen in the 15% discount that they offer to their employees. If this number were slightly bumped to perhaps 20 or 25%, it may make a considerable difference and feel that the employees are valued at the lower level.
So to summarize our recommendations, we would like to increase in-store customer service due to the fact that online customer service is slower, as well as hosting events in the store pertaining to consoles and games to provide and gain exposure. Also, that would increase our word-to-mouth advertising locally. And then finally, our top recommendation would be putting emphasis on the lower level employees, such as giving them a bigger discount. We believe this will help increase the retailer knowledge overall, especially with our in-store customer service, as well as this increase the overall morale for the employees. So basically, in conclusion, GameStop needs to follow these recommendations in order to adequately, successfully boost GameStop out of the dumps they have been in. And the good news is that they're tracking towards that after a promising fourth quarter, due to the fact that the new Xbox Series has been released as well as the PlayStation 5. And going forward in 2021, we believe that we will see a slight increase in revenue due to these devices. But if they are to look at our recommendations, they can better themselves even more. Thanks.